Okay, I am back. Video number 2. I want you to listen to what this police officer says to this man here. This is a video from 3 years ago, his right to travel, and he was let go. The cops, of course, their whole attitude is clear and very evident in this video. Listen to what the police officer says.
I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to do it.
You're being a good guy.
I want to make sure your vehicle is not stolen. That's my primary concern. I don't like jacking with normal people. Now, if you had a warrant or car was stolen, then we'd have an issue. At the same time, if you want to play the word games, that's fine. Okay?
So he says, if you want to play the word games, that's fine. The policemen out there, or the policy enforcers out there trying to racketeer for revenue for the state, for the corporation they work for, are all brainwashed by their bosses into believing that sovereigns, free men, constitutionalists are all bad things. Unfortunately, in this world that we live in, anything that is good and decent is going to be corrupted so that other people don't catch on to what is good and decent and want to follow suit. So, according to police, sovereigns are terrorists, and that is in actuality what they think of sovereigns. Most of them, of course. I don't want to generalize and say every single cop thinks that. That's not the case. But there have been notifications that were released onto the internet that were basically the paperwork from inside a police station talking about sovereign citizens and constitutionalism, that sort of thing. And lumped in on that page were, of course, people who are very much completely against the government, and they're all anarchists, and a lot of them are terrorists, and blah, blah, blah. So that's how they do it. They just lump you in. I know quite a bit about this. I've been lumped in with many things in the past. And it's just, you know, I mean, look at the word truth, for example. Are you a truther? Are you somebody who values truth? Are you somebody who tells truth, who reveals truth? Either just by revealing truth or by exposing lies. Well, the word truther now is associated with all kinds of conspiracy theorists, which is another term that they've debased. It's just an unfortunate situation. So this guy, this police officer, policy enforcer here, who's trying to get money out of this guy and possibly steal his car at gunpoint, which is what they're doing, literally, thinks this gentleman's playing a word game. Now, my first video, I talked about their word game, which is called legalese, which is a foreign language used by the courts to deceive you. You have to get to know those words. Here is a good list. Sorry, wrong one. Whoops. We're going to get to that in a minute. I meant to go over here. So I'm not going to read these again because I already went over this in my first video. You can freeze this and read it if you want to, and I highly recommend you do. This is probably something I found on a channel that posted a link to this, freedomschool.com. I will put the link to this in the description box below for you. And all these words, you think you know what they mean, but they actually mean something different in a court of law, or what they call a court of law, which of course is maritime admiralty law, and they're completely out of their jurisdiction. And that is a whole other topic that I'll get into someday when we get onto court and the IRS and all that other kind of stuff, which I will hope to be able to get to. So all these things mean something else. Transportation codes don't apply to you. Why? Because what are you transporting for pay? Nothing. You're not a transporter. You're not a driver. You're not driving a motor vehicle. So a lot of you know this already. This is a good list here to keep to print and have on hand so you can memorize all this stuff. Not all these numbers, obviously, just the basic facts about this. So the cops want you to think that they're smarter than you and that your information is a bunch of hogwash, but, oh, they're going to be nice today and let you go. No, the reality is probably most of them really actually do understand that you're right and that the right to travel trumps everything. Your basic fundamental rights as a human being cannot be regulated, cannot be restricted by some authority figure that's not even in the right jurisdiction in the first place. They have so much going against them. So all they can do, like a lot of people do to people who reveal truth, is just make you feel like you're an idiot or make sure everybody else thinks you're an idiot and that you're playing some kind of word game. They belittle it. And that's what this guy's doing. On the other hand, a lot of cops don't have a clue because they don't care. They just listen to their masters and do as they're told and go around terrorizing people. Occasionally there's a good cop who actually does understand what's going on and lets people go and says, you know what you're doing, sir. I've seen a video. Good cop. Good cop is in the video. You can search for it on YouTube. So let's look at this now. So I want to go over some other things here, just touch upon them. I have tons of information that I've been collecting, so I'm just going to make videos and just go over things kind of randomly in some way, shape, or form, hopefully, not to confuse anybody. So one of the biggest cons of the Law Society is the fact that they have their own language, legalese, which appears to be English, but which has different definitions for some key terms. In this case, as defined by legalese, to drive is to go on the road by a motorized conveyance, doing business or being engaged in commerce. And it is a privilege. Now they call it a privilege because those roads aren't for them. So they have to be privileged to go on them. That's why they're the ones who are regulated. They are the ones that are supposed to have license plates, driver's license, registration, and insurance in case they damage our roads or slam into us, the people who by right are traveling on public roads. You see, that's what you have to get in your head. You have to get that into your head that these are your roads. By the way, highway definition in law, lawful definition of highway is freeway, byway, avenue, road, street, everything, all of the above and then some. So it's not just the highway with your 60, 70 mile per hour speed limits. It's all roadways. And this doesn't pertain to any particular state. There might be variations, but this is all across America, okay? To travel, on the other hand, is a right, and no legislation can be passed to strip you of your fundamental inherent rights, which are, by the way, secured by the Constitution, not given to you by the Constitution. Nobody gives you your rights but you, by being born. Get that in your head, please. To state that you are driving is to unwittingly place yourself in admiralty or commercial jurisdiction. Do not use the word driving anymore. When you get into your car, from now on, I want you to say it out loud or in your own mind. I am now going to convey my automobile. Do not use the word drive, driver, driving, none of the above. As a sovereign being, you never need surrender your rights and exchange them for privileges. This is the way society's descended to tyranny. To exchange a right for a privilege is to ask permission for something in the form of a governmental permit or license that you are free to do anyway. Driving is a privilege. Traveling is a right. A privilege is granted by some authority, and equally it can be taken away by some authority. A right can never be abrogated. Our right to travel can never be stripped from us. It is as fundamental to our existence as our right to breathe. Most cops are completely unaware that they are enforcing commercial statutes in admiralty jurisdiction and that you can exercise your right to remain in common law jurisdiction. Admiralty jurisdictions use administrative rules, regulations, codes, statutes, policy, and bylaws, all of which are not real law, but operate under the color of law. So if you hear the term color of law, that's what that means. Think of it as the government, corporations, laws that do not apply to private people. If you are traveling privately and not engaged in business on the road, you are not under commercial jurisdiction and do not need a license. This isn't a word game. You are actually following the law. If you're in a courtroom and you don't want to perjure yourself, well, then you better not say you're a driver of a motor vehicle if you're not getting paid to do so. Because you'd be lying in a court of law now, wouldn't you? Because you're not a driver of a motor vehicle. Unless you're a taxi driver or you truck furniture across the states, or you're a limo driver, or anything you do and get paid to do in an automobile. It then becomes a motor vehicle. So, if you're stopped, and I'll get into this in more detail later, ask the law enforcement officer if they're detaining you. Ask, are you detaining me or am I free to go? If they say they're detaining you, state that they have only two legal reasons for doing so, your consent or reasonable suspicion based on probable cause. So ask them, officer, what articulable probable cause do you have for suspecting I have committed a crime, am committed a crime, or am about to commit a crime? Because those are the only reasons they can stop you by law. No plates on your car? Sorry, they don't have any right to stop you at all. Absolutely no right. No registration sticker? No right to stop you by law. This is in the law, people. There are tons and tons of cases. Just type into your search engine, right to travel, and you'll get a ton of information. So, state that they do not have your consent, so therefore they must produce probable cause, else they are illegally detaining you. Ask them for evidence of probable cause. If they have none, ask them again politely but repeatedly if you are free to go. And that's another thing you do. You keep repeating yourself, just like they do. Driver's license and registration, please. And if you say no, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you, they'll keep asking you over and over again. Do the same thing. Here's a U.S. Supreme Court, 2000, Reno versus Condon. The activity licensed by state DMVs and in connection with which individuals must submit personal information to the DMV, the operation of motor vehicles, is itself integrally related to interstate commerce. It's this clear, people. It's right here. What more do you need? Right here, Supreme Court. The Supreme Court itself is saying that any reason that you would have to submit any personal information to the DMV is because you are working on the interstate under commerce. You're getting paid. You're driving a big rig or something, or delivering pizzas, or whatever, Uber, taxi cabs. A commercial motor vehicle, case number 1. The use of the highway for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common fundamental right of which the public and individuals cannot rightfully be deprived. These police officers / policy enforcers have absolutely no right whatsoever to deprive you of your right to travel unless you are swerving around, banging into walls, causing a scene, drunk or drugged, or just attacking people. Obviously, if you're committing crimes with your car by being in your car, then they have every right to stop you, and they should stop you. Case number 2, the right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon, either by carriage or by automobile, is not a mere privilege which a city may prohibit or permit at will, but a common law right which he has under the right of life, to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is another law. This was also in court. Case number 3, the right to travel is a part of the liberty of which the citizen cannot be deprived without due process of law under the Fifth Amendment. So they're saying you could be deprived of it once you've gone through the process of law and they've figured out that you are a danger or that you ran someone over or something like that. Due process of law in this case isn't saying that they're going to take you to court And it's going to come out that, oh, you didn't have driver's license after all. You're going to jail now. And that's not what they mean, because you do not have to have a driver's license. Case number 4, the right to travel is a well-established common right that does not owe its existence to the federal government. It is recognized by the courts as a natural right. Think of conveying your automobile on the streets, okay? Back when a lot of these laws were made, or these rights were recognized, I should say, the transportation of the day was mules and horses and carriages and that sort of thing. Well, it's not anymore. We have cars. We have automobiles. Some people have motor vehicles because they work in commerce on the roadways that are ours by right, public roadways, highways, etc. So you still have every right, no matter what you're using, to move yourself around on this planet. The government cannot regulate you because that is restricting you. If you don't have, which is happening now to a lot of people because they're not armed with the right knowledge. If you don't have your license, your registration, etc., and they get stopped and they don't know what they're supposed to say or do, they don't have their script down, well, they're going to get hauled away because that's what the cops do. They're going to take your car, they're going to impound it, which is theft. They're stealing your car. Just think of them as pirates on the roadside with their swords out, and they're attacking you for your private property. That's what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing. Common law right to travel. 1. The right to travel is an unconditional personal right whose exercise may not be conditioned. This was another case. Dunn versus Blumstein, constitutional law, and the right of international travel. 2. Travel is not a privilege requiring licensing, vehicle registration, or forced insurance. See, it's right here. Chicago Coach Company versus City of Chicago. Or forced insurance. I think I said in my first video, I've been paying car insurance for 30 years. Never once have I been in an accident. I've never hit anyone. I've never damaged anybody's property while in a car, because I'm a very good, very careful driver. 30 years of car insurance absolutely thrown away, out the window. If I'd saved all that up, that's a lot of money that I would be able to use to pay for anything that I do. If I accidentally back into someone's wall or something, I can have it repaired and pay for it. You don't need all these corporations and rules and regulations to take care of issues. Number 3, no license required of the natural individual traveling for personal business, pleasure, and transportation. It doesn't get any clearer than that. 4, Article versus Amendment. The rights of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his/her property thereon by carriage or automobile is not a mere privilege which a city or state may prohibit or permit at will, but a common right which he/she has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No police policy officer, enforcer can read this and not understand what it says. It's too black and white, clear cut. Barber versus Walker, Oklahoma, 1927. The right of a citizen to travel upon the highway and transport his property thereon in the ordinary course of life and business differs radically and obviously from that of one who makes the highway's place of business and uses it for private gain. The former is the usual and ordinary right of a citizen, a common right to all, while the latter is special, unusual, and extraordinary. The latter being business on the highways, byways, etc. That is the extraordinary, unusual usage of our private roads that are there for us. See, what happened was a long time ago at some point, somebody said, oh my God, we can trick all these fools into paying car insurance, into paying registration, into registering their cars and paying all those fees to do that. And then when they don't obey the rules of the road, which don't even apply to them, then we can get them to pay more money. This is the definition of racketeering. Okay, so in that same Walker, Barber versus Walker, it says that this principle has been applied many times. These aren't just a few random laws that I'm showing you. The internet is full of them. Supreme Court of California, Southern Pacific Transportation Company, Petitioner versus Public Utilities Commission. Obviously, administrative agencies like police officers must obey the Constitution and may not deprive persons of constitutional rights. These are your constitutional rights because they're secured by the Constitution. There are many, and it's happening all the time now. People are waking up. Policemen are being sued. Policemen are being dragged into court. This was a comment. This was a comment on a video from 2 years ago by Law Advocate. And he wrote, "Your automobile is your private property. It's your right to travel in it. Private property cannot be regulated lawfully by a third party. Rights are not privilege. Traveling is not right if there is a license fee. The corporation that made the car can be regulated. It's a corporation. The road is paid for by gas usage for being on them. It's public property like a park. I don't need a license to travel freely or be in a park. You do not control equal and free rights. They are already inherent. No human being has power over another. No corporation has power over a human being. No government has power over private individual beings. This is the meaning of liberty and freedom. Either support liberty or you don't." So you need to start thinking of it like this, like he's putting it out here. Can somebody say, did you pay your breathing fee this month? I know that you think that you have the right to breathe, but we have regulated that now, so you need to pay. It's the same exact thing. You have a right to go from A to B if you need to. Nobody can say, well, you can't do that unless you've paid this and you have a pretty sticker on the back of your car. That's how you have to start looking at this. The license is a fee I do not consent to pay, and you have to honor that right of consent. It has nothing to do with my competence as a person, or most of you haven't, some of the misspellings here, sorry, it's not mine, been given that privilege. This human rights issue has to do with commercial code and the codification of human rights, not a license or the fee. This is not a petty argument, and it's not going away anytime soon. Are you going to honor my rights as I honor yours? You have a right to travel in your private automobile on public roads to public park. Anyone countering this fact as standing against rights deserves none. We have many rights that are not listed on a piece of paper. The basic outline called Bill of Rights are not the only rights we get. These rights are inherent and inalienable. They precede the government and will be there long after it's gone. Rights are freedom. The freedom to choose voluntarily to consent with community or decline without penalty. To force another to consent is terrorism by definition. Terrorism. You hear that word a lot. But they never apply it to who actually the terrorists are. Justice is not blind. Idealism is blind, and ideas are crafted and called legal code. And this was another response by the same person, quoting Benjamin Franklin. It is a common observation here that our cause is the cause of all mankind, and they were fighting for their liberty in defending our own. And this comment was on this video, Traveling Lawfully. I didn't make the rules, I just found the rules. And that's the link. You can search for the video if you want to by typing in the title here. This is what this Benjamin Franklin quote is saying, is really why I'm doing this. I started this channel to take you on a journey. I am going to be removing the plates from my car. I am currently educating myself and getting together a lot of paperwork and case law and Supreme Court rulings, etc., the things that I've just went over with you, I have many, many, many pages of them because it goes on and on and on. I am working on an affidavit of truth, something that is full of information that you can give to a police officer. There's also a script to memorize. And really, don't be intimidated by this information, please. You have to just keep, if you feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, it's because I want to drill it into your head, these things that you need to get down. You really need, they have to be a part of your life. You have to breathe them. In your car, have some paperwork next to you at a stoplight, or when you're parked, read them, memorize them, practice talking to police officers out loud in your car. You know, just work on this stuff because you need to get, first of all, brave and not be intimidated by these thieves. And I say that knowing that some of them don't know they're stealing from you, but they are. And you should always be respectful and courteous. Now, a lot of cops are not. A lot of cops come at you like a bulldog or a pit bull that's untrained, wanting to tear your throat out because to them, they're a hammer and everything's a nail. They like to wield that power because perhaps at home, who knows, maybe they grew up in a household of women who were domineering and he didn't feel masculine, he was emasculated. Who knows what's going on behind these people? But now they want to take it out on everybody else. So there's a lot of psychology going on with a lot of cops for the very reason that they became a cop, to take control in one way or another, perhaps. So I want you to know that you should not, oh, where did it go? Here it is. This is something you should not do. You can watch this video. I will link to this video in the description box. Also in the description box will be my email address. I'm not going to make comments available on my videos because I really cannot keep up with all of that. I just can't. It's very time consuming, and as subscribers grow, it gets to be extremely agonizing to try to feel up to date, and I always feel obligated to take care of my subscribers, and I just can't do that anymore. So, and I know that what I'm talking about here is right and accurate. If somebody has some beneficial information for me or something important they want to tell me, please email me. Otherwise, enjoy the videos, thumbs them up, thumbs them down, whatever you feel like doing, go for it. It's up to you. But I don't want you to do what the people do in this video. However right they may be in the message they're sending to this officer here, who is one of the types of officers I just described a little while ago, you never want to do what these two guys did in this car. They were out of control, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. Some of you might be subscribed to these people. This has a lot of views on it. They were rude, they were not respectful, and they were screaming and yelling constantly. At one point toward the end, they were both talking to two different cops through two different windows at the same time, and it was chaotic. And then, of course, this is what happened.
Please treat me with justice, sir. Justice according to the Constitution of the United States of America, of America, of America. Treat me according to the justice provided for the people. Treat me provided for the people. Why are you looking in my conveyance? Yo, he's facing. He's facing. Step out of the car, sir. Yo.
So, as you can see, it didn't end well. The video kind of ends there. I can only imagine that the cops then smashed the window because he did have a wand in his hand. These people were on the verge. They were ready to attack at any time. And these two guys probably knew it, and that's why they were screaming and yelling about for an hour. So don't do that. A traffic stop is only supposed to last about 15 minutes. This is an hour long. And I don't think they started filming right away. Don't end up like this. Arm yourself with knowledge. Arm yourself with proof of what you're talking about, because there is tons of it out there. And I'm here to help. There's a lot of other great channels out here. People who are also doing what I'm doing and gearing up to fully be doing. I am not, my registration on my car, by the way, is expired many months now. I'm not paying it. I will never pay it because it doesn't apply to me. So the steps are already in motion, and you'll be along on my journey to see what happens, how it goes, my successes, perhaps my downfalls. We shall see. So thank you for being here, everybody. Oh, one last thing I wanted to show you, this very interesting, since we were talking about word games. So just remember that. Do you drive a motor vehicle or do you travel in your automobile? That's separate from what I want to show you here. So the word leasing means lying, falsehood. Licentious, one of the definitions is unrestrained by law or general morality, lawless, immoral. License, in the law of contracts, a permission accorded by a competent authority conferring the right to do some act which without such authorization would be illegal or would be a trespass or a tort. So I just found it interesting that these three words are very similar. And a lot of their words actually are coming from, well, basically, if you find the true definition of a lot of words that they use, you'll be able to see that they're actually telling you right out front what exactly it means. Because the truth is actually that self-evident, everybody. You just have to find it. And you have to, most importantly, let them know that you now know what they're doing. Racketeering. Violating your rights, to name just two things. Thanks for being here. I'll see you soon.